Hello and welcome to our session on 3 secrets to delighting B2B customers. My name is Sanjay Mehta. I'll be your presenter today. I'm head of industry of e-commerce at Lucidworks. Let's start with the B2B customer's perspective. I think it's important really to understand where they're coming from today as, again, the exposure they've had in their day-to-day when they're not buying for the organization they work for is very influential, but there's some other aspects we should consider. So we'll take a third person stance on this. So about me, my job is really to find products and suppliers that suit my organization and their needs. I have choice of products and suppliers, and I prefer suppliers that offer transparency, make my job easier, and that know me. When we talk about transparency, I really want to know, am I going to get it on time? Am I going to get the right amount? We'll talk a little bit more about other aspects of transparency that are important, but those are key things. I desire a connected experience across my purchasing, support, and ongoing interactions, whether they're in person or not. I don't like restarting my experience over and over. I'd like you to know me. What would I like my experience to be? Well, I'd like it to be aware, and particularly aware of my immediate need, my preferences that I've exhibited or shared, of my organization that I belong to and their preferences and what others in my organization are doing, and my industry overall. Also want you to be aware of why I need to purchase and for what, and be able to pick that up either if I tell you explicitly or based on my behavior. How much do I need? When and how often is something you should be able to learn and be able to anticipate. And also really take into account what similar organizations and other buyers are doing in my space, so it's more relevant. Making it familiar is important too. Going back to what I do in my own time when I'm not working, I like the experience to behave like the sites and apps I already use, but also like it to be aligned to my job and trade. I don't like a generic experience. I want something that understands what we need to do. It should recognize me everywhere too. So if I start on a mobile experience and move to the desktop or move to the call center and work with a chatbot, really should know me. I don't want to start all over. It should remember what I bought before, right? And use those past purchases to influence what you're showing me. I'd again like to pick up where I left off. Sometimes it takes me many visits before I make a purchase. And I love it to emulate the face-to-face experience I had come to know before. Finally, making it enriching and interactive. I'd like the experience to be knowledgeable and inform me. I'd like to guide and educate me along the way. I'm not quite sure of all the things I need to consider, and I think having that guidance and as well as tools to help me determine what products I need, I think are key. Any suggestions you have are welcome too, and that could be replacement items, substitutions, as well as items you think I should need, maybe up in advance. Prompting me too is important. For example, if you think I'm running out of something or there's something new in a particular category I'm interested in, could be pretty powerful. And always keep connected to me. So continuing, whether it's through email or other touch points, and making that continual effort on connecting with me is what I'm looking for. So let's talk about now getting out of the third person experience, making experiences customer aware. So how do we do that? Now, part of it is obviously focusing on the customer, which means migrating away from a generic one-size-fits-all experience or a prescriptive experience, as we call it, where you're forcing everyone down the same journey and allowing them to determine their own journey and path. So one example would be when a user lands on your site, if you don't know anything about them, using machine learning to predict an outcome and align experience accordingly. If they land on a research page, you should be focusing on their research intent. If they land on a category page, we know that they're already interested in a category or product or project. Again, they may log in directly to your site and move to the first page of either a category, browse, or they may perform a search. Those are all very powerful indicators of intent. As we know, the industry overall moved away from third party, and we're now with zero and first party data. And leveraging any of that will also help drive the awareness of your experience and the alignment, more familiarity, I guess we'd call it, with the user that experience will have. We got to consider the organization the user belongs to and what other buyers in that organization are doing that could influence what this buyer will see, in addition to what other cohorts in the industry are doing. And all of that can be used to drive very hyper-personalized, relevant experiences. Ideally, we use predictive models which are available to anticipate what the customer needs based on context, as we mentioned, like industry, region, their behavior, and any profile data that's available. As a statement here from Harvard, know what the customer needs before they do. Let's talk about some use cases here and practice. Here on the left, I kind of built a mock-up without any design, just to talk a little bit about functionality that leverages these concepts we discussed. So on the left, we're looking at more of like a personalized experience and a home page that's very unique to that buyer's industry, their trade, and their profile and their behaviors, right? And here's the opportunities we have where we look at past purchases, not only for quick reordering, which is common, but also dynamic menus. Many of you in B2B have very extensive menus, and a lot of that menu real estate is irrelevant to the particular buyer. Why not optimize that? And we're seeing a lot of demand for that type of capability across the board. And it should at least be aligned by industry or trade if you don't know a lot or have a lot of information about the specific buyer organization. And of course, using predictive search and predictive models to suggest products that the customer may need or buyer may need, including other searches that may be sourced from their organization or their industry as well, to make it relevant. Going back to the intent, where the customer lands is key, right? If they land on a product that they came in from a search engine or other trade portal, we know that is obviously something, at least features of that product are what their intent is. Why not use that and influence the experience accordingly? Same thing if they're on a category or a listing page or a campaign. What is that campaign about? Let's make sure the landing page resonates and the experience maintains that stickiness, if you will, of that intent. Let's not forget content. Research is a big aspect of B2B. They land on a content or topic page. Let's make sure we incorporate those topics into the experience and influence the personalization accordingly. Notifications and being anticipatory here are another aspect that B2B buyers are looking for. And that could be including things that might threaten their business a bit, like low stock, which we could detect, or back in stock are common ones that are asked for, price drops, right? Or recalls, things like that are great. And then for those of you who do track more cyclical or seasonal buying aspects of your customers, getting ahead of that, where it might be related to maintenance items, could be very compelling. And then again, when we think about recommender algorithms and such, making sure they're at least narrowed to a customer's industry and trade if you have that available, and then getting more specific down to the organization and customer is key. Again, more customers are going and using mobile devices that may have less real estate, so it's a wise choice to take most advantage of that by offering something relevant. A lot of tools, interactive tools are available and can be used, and making sure you offer the correct tools to the right industry, right, is big. Again, one size fits all doesn't work even with type of tools. So for example, if I'm buying parts, making sure they're compatible. If I'm buying something that needs to match colors, maybe I have a tool that does that sort of experience. Same thing if you have stores or warehouses and you offer will call, those sorts of things like having a late locator are important. Again, taking advantage of the real estate is key here. And when we think about all these aspects of maximizing the experience, industry and trade is key. Personalization by organization and profile, making sure it's continuous. I'm just showing right now personalized B2B landing page, but in this case, this should be, again, pervasive across search, browse, Rex, email, cart, and beyond. And again, that's where we think about connectivity and connectivity across touch points. Making experiences familiar. So here, when we think about familiar experiences, they really should align to the how someone makes decisions in that specific context, like their trade. And that could be, what should that navigation look like? What should those menus look like? They really should be aligned to the way an industry buyer thinks. Facets should be aligned by trade and project. And a lot of these things can be learned through machine learning by observing what someone in a specific or users in specific industries are doing. Products should be aligned again to that customer's context, whether it's industry, whether it's region, whether it's something around their organization, for example. Transparency is also key, and getting as close to real time on availability is even critical for B2B, where we all know it can stop an entire business function in some cases. Lead time, again, if being more transparent about how long things will take. And again, traceability is another call out that's across the board from B2B and B2C, understanding sort of all the actors and suppliers that may be involved in fulfilling an order. Built-in industry knowledge and language is also very important. Understanding that user's vernacular, right? In particular, in that trade language and slang, if you will. And there's a number of techniques, such as knowledge graphs, domain-specific knowledge graphs that can seed your experience for that, right? And make sure that you understand and capture the way things are described, as more often than not, the way the user describes that may be different than the way it is in your product data or content. Leverage signals for collaborative results, right? That can be particularly important when you have a lot of professionals or experts in this particular domain, and leveraging their behaviors to influence others. And follow the leading consumer UX trends. You know, really, when we think about consumer sites that we all interact with, whether they're sites or apps, borrowing those to make that experience more familiar. That may include photo and voice search, if that's something that your users, knowing your users, would leverage. Making experiences interactive. So here, you know, again, we're trying to emulate what the kind of best sales or account management experience have been. And here we'll enrich experiences beyond just product data, so it doesn't look like we're just throwing things up for sale, but really educate the user on why this product's important to them. So that means incorporating the knowledge you have, and that could include support data, your internal knowledge base, other content you may have sourced, and make it very interactive, including, you know, video and user generated content if available. Drive a conversational experience using bi-directional tools. Obviously, chatbots are a great example of that. And there's other tools as well that you might see here, as I've got a visual example of a visual configurator. And this is, again, a handy tool to make sure that the product is going to be the right one, or the products I pick will be compatible. How do we get there? So the first step really is collecting enriching signals, making sure that you're capturing all the events, whether they're on a mobile app, whether they're on a desktop, whether they're on another touch point, making sure you're capturing them and identifying what they represent. Is it a product view? Is it an add to cart? Is it a compare? Is it an add to list? Is it a search? Enrich with content. This is important too. Having a signal on what the user did is great, but it even makes it more valuable when you add some kind of context to it, such as a region. For those of you who have regional divisions in your business, refer. Where did they come from? If they came from Google, it might give you an inclination of what their intent is, and any other available situational information. For identified visitors, make sure you augment with the intelligence you have around that customer, which may be some identifier as well as segment. That way we can use that across their journey. When you have those signals, it's important to pair them up with underlying enterprise data. For example, if it's a product view, let's map that product view to product attributes. That's where the system gets smart and understands what's important to the user and aligns to the user at a deeper level. For example, what is it about the product that is important to them? And these may come from a PIM or come from your catalog or any other source. Category attributes, for example, how things are laid out and how that category is structured and what it represents. For example, a department is important too, and passing that over. Any content they are looking at, metadata you may have around that content, or use some kind of next-gen tools to extract what's in that content and add that to your labels of your signals. And let's not forget the customer or contract records, data you may have in your CRM to let us know about that customer if available, and then any other segments. Again, if you have a marketing platform that customers responding to a campaign, let's make sure we have that information, any other information marketing may have on that visitor. Finally, enabling and testing, making sure once you determine what modules and touch points you want to activate this experience on, usually we'll see a phased approach. It's not bowl of the ocean type approaches that we see. Usually you'll find certain area. It might be your type ahead, it may be your recommendations, cartridges. Finding in a model that you want to work or test different models. There might be what we call a model of all or model of models, which allows to choose different models, for example, recommendation algorithms that make most sense, and then test them. And once you're done, setting up a test, make sure you have a way to determine what is confidence for you based on your traffic and your metrics. And again, turn it on or switch it over when you realize a benefit's there. And it's always important to get a baseline, a baseline of what the impact is as you release these solutions. So I'd like, again, thank you for your attendance in this session, and we'll be available for a Q&A session shortly after this.